Well, here in the, I guess, third round of the game, we have an interesting action. We're starting to see a lot of support growing for this. I need one for Pennsylvania. But Hamilton played the Pennsylvania support for it with Morris, and Morris allows you to play another action. And this is a very powerful card that you wanted to play. Report of the Committee on Style. Choose an article which has already been resolved and flip it over, reversing its bias. He's going to take, because he's got a little snake there, he's going to take a Federalist article and change the wording. The Committee on Style polished up the document from to make all laws shall be necessary and proper and to carry into execution of the foregoing powers, all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the Constitution of the United States. 2, Congress shall make no law usurping, I think, the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise therefore. So we've got the Bill of Rights type language going into this. But this is a big swing for the Anti-Federalists to push the only Federalist marker there. And he's got the debate portion there, so he kind of wanted to push that forward. Seemed like a good choice, and now he gets to grab 2 new cards. So it doesn't really cost him anything. He gets to play 2 cards in one turn. It costs him Connecticut, which he could have had a vote for, though. Well, we'll see. This one looks almost certain to actually pass as legislated. Nobody was even voting against, but now we've got some people going in there. Gray played one, which could have flipped things and forced it to essentially pass by failing the opposite. But instead, he does not necessarily want this to pass. He's strong on the anti-federalist position, but also he's looking at he could get to the advantage here, get his points, get his pieces back, and have some control over this, which doesn't matter much to him, but all the same, it would give him some points that he wouldn't have otherwise, and give him his tokens back that got frozen in the opposition there. We'll see if anybody else reacts to that. Okay, so now, who is this? Patterson decided to finish things off, passing it in his own way, getting Delaware in favor, and don't mind those feet, that's just my wife. The reason was because he could play 2 guys down there. That's going to give him 3 victory points. Now we'll score this one out relatively as quickly as I can, I guess. And we do this with the assembly room first. Let's see. Patterson pulls 3 points for his. You can see there aren't a lot of points in this game. Then we go, well, let's go to pink. Sherman, he's going to get 2 points. Isn't helping him much. Purple also will be getting 2 quick points. And our last one here is gray, who gets only 1. Over here, these guys swoop down, and that gives the additional gray guy, so this is going to come back to him. Okay, now this passed as written, so it goes forward. This one, gray has the option to choose. Nobody debated this time. Gray has the option to choose which way it's going to go. And if he looks at people's points, blue is not really ideological. His other opponents appear to be somewhat mixed, but one has 2 holdings in the small state faction. One has only 1 in the large state faction. It seems to me reasonable to push the large state, even if the anti-federalist position is shared by them, which kind of is see, that's a penalty there. So he's got to kind of decide which way he wants to go. His own hand has 1 small state. And we're going to have a small state issue in place. So, see, if the small state issue is the most important issue, it becomes worth the most points to hold. And right now, we're looking at a tie, or actually, yeah. So he wants it to be large state to prevent the small states from passing or at least tying his anti-federalist position. He also gets 3 points for these losers, which is kind of cool because he managed to cut the deal that worked. These other losers are still stuck in here. That's their problem, I guess. And now we move forward with 2 new articles. And Blue ended it, so yeah, we'll be on Madison here. You see there's a lot of these that aren't coming into play either. Now, granted, a lot of players didn't play them, but there's not a lot of time to generate those cards coming back out. So I think there's a lot more blocks than we actually need. Okay, now we're into the final discussion over articles. And I've swung around 1 round already. We're seeing people kind of lining up against in general. Why? It's kind of hard to judge what's going on here. Part of it is I want points, so I'll go with the winning side idea, right? But each person has sort of different views on where they're going. So for example, when we look at Madison here, well, he wants to make sure he'd like large states to get an improvement on their positioning. A third large state, which this would be if it fails, puts it in a tie with the small state's position. So he would get the second place 4-point votes for his lead there. Now what we see is Pinckney deciding, hey, if that's going to be the case, I want to get some of those points because I need to grow. But he needs more than just those 4 points that he could get off that. Over here, let's see what Purple did. Purple's the one guy who's in favor of it because he wants those small states to maintain their position. He wants to defeat the large states. Plus, he might be able to get points from that. By being in the losing side, he might be able to score from here as well if he gets all his pieces in there. Others, let's see, Gray. Again, Gray's not terribly... He shouldn't be in favor of the large states particularly, but his problem is he doesn't want the small states to get as big as his snakes, as his anti-federalists. So he'd kind of rather see a second place over here, although that grants more points to White. If White gets the 4 points, that's going to put him ahead. So it's kind of this troubled position where he's got to kind of target the people he knows are ahead of him. People who are going in the same area as he is, say with the anti-federalist, and have those big points. How to get rid of that extra edge is the question. And over here, well, with Blue, he's in the lead right now, and garnering points might be his best answer, because even if other people gain 4 or 5 points, he's still going to be in the running. But he may have to consider a debate as well to push his own points to get that big jump, because although it looked early in the game that those debates weren't worth much, it's beginning to become clear, at least for the main issues, 4 or 5 points is a big swing. There aren't a lot in the game. We're also starting to see events taking more and more effect. Let me move this up. So, for example, we've got not that one. Fallsville removing a delegate. This one, removing control of delegates. So delegates are still voting, in this case, in both directions, but players are losing the value they'll get off of them. Just people jockeying to try to edge out those points. In this case, why was that important? Well, one was because Blue owned this one, and Blue's in the lead. So there's this perception of, well, that's probably as good as anything else I can do at this point. We'll see. So we're at the end here. Purple managed to play 2 leaders into here. I'm not sure what that does for them, to tell you the truth. Except that it definitely pushes... Oh no, they didn't want to place it there. Oh, they definitely didn't want to. I thought they were improving things for themselves. Okay, now they had... they want to place on this side, and Virginia was already on that side in Blue's hand. So I got to rethink this. I thought it was all over. But let me go into a little bit of it. The kind of things that are happening, like White playing this New Hampshire better late than never. The delegates showed up very late, apparently. But he pulled 2 extra victory points, which puts him into this running here. Now, he's got a problem, a big problem, which he has to work towards, and he's trying to build up snake anti-federalists so that he can at least jump on this and prevent it from going over. Because if Gray gets that, he wins the anti-federalist position, period, straight up, if he gets a second counter. And that's the thing. That's why the small states here, that's invulnerable. Nobody can get 2 counters for that unless there's some event or something that I haven't seen. But the fact that he's going into the final round with that means he's in, you know, he's solidly got those points. So now the question is, well, what else does he want to try to sleaze out of here? But yeah, I've got a... Virginia's still pro. I've got to think about Pinckney's choices because I get confused by visual type things, obviously, if you watch my videos. And that little symbol, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you can win it. No, it's not that. It's the opposite if it's on that side. So I got to think about that. They absolutely did not want to override Virginia. But that's how you do it. You play 2 leaders over the 1, and now Virginia switches sides. But there are event cards that can prevent that from happening. Anyway, I'll go back to them. And now we are indeed over, as Gray managed to play New York into the seal. And they're going to get 3 victory points for the states that they have pushing this forward, in addition to grabbing themselves the control of the Anti-Federalists. We'll see how that all works out. It's kind of a shame. There were things people were trying to do. So, for example, I think it was Pink was trying to work up to get enough Anti-Federalists to jump themselves up to 3 so that they'd be tied for first with the other 2 people who were there. So they were holding 2 in their hand right now. And if they got another one, that's a long-term and unlikely prospect. But much shorter term was this one? No. Well, this guy played one that's going to give him extra points for the different states. Someone was holding something they really wanted to play at the end. That ain't it. Maybe it was Blue who was holding off, and they actually take a delegate from the top of the discard pile. Yeah, the Elder Statesman, 2 points for each influence marker under play. Blue was going to play that, but they're having trouble getting blue markers in play, as you can see. So they kind of wanted to get a couple more votes into the thing and then play that and get 2 points per vote instead of 1 per successful vote. That didn't work out, though, for them. Anyhow, let's see what we got. First of all, this article goes over here, and Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Well, North Carolina and South Carolina were both against, so Pink gets 2 points. I can get rid of that, just so I don't have to pay attention to it. Gray, however, pulls 3 points for their winning position there. That's pretty huge. And White's going to get 2. Puts them into a strong position. Now we have to deal with the backroom deals. And these 2 go back down there. And that's not going to cause anything special to happen. So we have a Federalist issue going forward. Now the Federalists are going to be in the last position here out of the pile, but that's okay. And you know, I kind of want to look at these and say, this is what our Constitution would look like with these changes. But I'm not going to do that because I doubt many people are too interested in it. but that's definitely something I would be doing at the end of the play on my own that would kind of interest and excite me. So nothing's going to come of any of this. These points stay here, but what does come is we get a star for blue. That should help them. And we get this here. So now we score those because it's the end of the game, and this is the only thing that's special about the end of the game as far as I can see. It's the bonus points for these. The first place faction looks like it's going to be our Anti-Federalists with 4 Anti-Federalist provisions. Oh hell, let's see what the changes are at least. The necessary and proper clause. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. Right. And the ratification of the Convention of 13 states shall be sufficient for the establishment of the Constitution between the states. What's the difference? The ratification of 9 states. Ah, yeah, so this would require even poor Rhode Island, who wasn't present, to be there. So that's going to be our Anti-Federalist position, and our others were there, the limitation on office and impeachment are Anti-Federalists. So anyway, the Anti-Federalists get the big win here, and the one person who spoke the most for him is, surprisingly enough, Alexander Hamilton's side of things. So he's going to get 5 extra points for that. That's a huge boost because it didn't look like he was going to run away with that. He looked like he had to defend against other people like Madison on this issue. Okay, so, and I can get these out of here. They will only confuse me. So now our second position is a split between the large states and the small states. So anybody with either of them is in second place. That's a 4-point issue. The small states is clearly over here in Pinckney's hands, so we give him his 4 points. Now, it's pretty obvious he's not going to make a lot of ground up here on gray. And for the large states, both blue and white are also going to get their 4 points. And again, they're out of points now. The only remaining points to be given is for the Federalists. We've done 1, 2, 3 places. So this is the 4th place. The Federalism is only worth 2 points, and Pinckney picks that up as well. And that's where we have it. And it turns out that the debates were a really key issue. And the fact that you can slam down and own something by putting a second piece in it, by getting a second pip in it, is really kind of a dominating thing, because somebody would have to spend multiple rounds to gain up to your level to reach that. And if you're in the lead, you can deny other people the lead. Another kind of nice little backstabbing type of move there, because there are more points available in that than probably anything else for the final round. But in the early rounds, grabbing some positions, especially when it looks clear, for example, I think Anti-Federalism, there were a couple of them out, and small states or something. When it looks like there are things that are already established in the Constitution, as it's going to be automatic, from the beginning of the game, I think it's worth putting a piece in there. It doesn't look like you don't look like you have as many points, so yes, clever players will keep track of it and be able to understand your positional advantage there. But a lot of people will lose some awareness of some of the points you have in the bank, essentially. And especially if you can slip a couple of chips into something and nobody else is grabbing it, and it looks like it's going to be producing more than a 4th place finish, you're probably coming ahead in the end. Like this guy was unable to be matched at the very end, and he had one of the stronger positions. Surprising, I don't think that would have happened with experienced players, but of course the first round wouldn't have happened either, I don't think. Anyway, I'll clean this up and come back and talk to you about what I think about the game as a whole.